Good afternoon and welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase, and I am delighted to have the perfectly, look at that, I was going to say perfectly hatted, I don't know if you could do it of hatted, but Richard Price, MD of Dezrez. Welcome, good to see you here today, sir. You okay?
I'm great, thanks Simon. Thanks for having me on. Really looking forward to speaking to you today.
Absolutely. I just said off camera, you've actually got one of the limited edition beanie hats there.
Yeah,
these
coveted hat, this one, I think, isn't it? People pay big money for these, I've heard.
They will do. As soon as Kerfuffle goes out of business, they'll be worth shedding. Rich, right, okay, everyone knows Dezrez. We're going to get onto that in a minute. Today, though, the title is, we're talking about PropTech innovation is connecting the property world. Discover how agents are saying time, money, and resource. Now, all of those wonderful buzzwords, I get that, I understand that entirely. But for those that don't know you and everything else, just explain to people what's made you get into PropTech.
Okay, so I wasn't the best student at school, should we say. At 16, I didn't have the best results in my GCSEs, but that was the kick up the arse I needed really to take my career forward and make something of myself, I suppose. So at 16, I went into college and was doing construction. Did that for 4 years. Ended up getting a degree and a master's in sustainable development. So I've always been around the construction world and looking at property, that sort of side of things. But then I guess my big break was that I worked for Swansea Council, where we brought in a big ERP change, which is basically enterprise resource planning program, which basically was a new IT system. And I just saw that big companies were able to spend this money to get great IT systems in and really improve the efficiency of their businesses. And from there, I went into BT and CGI and did a similar thing really with lots of other industries. I was lucky enough to work at Molson Coors, the beer company, where we put in a new system to improve the efficiency of making beer. I mean, who doesn't want that? That's a fantastic thing.
I'm really thinking quite unfavourably back to my careers advisor now, who didn't tell me that was an option.
They had a free bar on a Thursday night in the office, which was amazing. You could even pour your own beers. So yeah, that was great. But I just saw that there, and all those jobs that I had, that these companies were making the most of IT. I worked for the Crown Prosecution Service. We looked at a new digital court in Southwark. So all these things are around having one system where you could control all your information from one place. And then the opportunity came to join Dezrez. So I joined 4 years ago. The first 2 years I was the client director, so it gave me a really good opportunity to meet with our clients. Some fantastic clients were very kind to me and helped me understand the industry. So that gave me a good grounding in that. And then 2 years ago, took over as the MD, and I really want to apply the learning that I've learned over the last 20 years of being in business into Dezrez, and feel like we're really at a point now where we've spent the last couple of years consolidating our position, consolidating our software, and we've got a really exciting couple of quarters ahead of us and into next year. So I'm really excited to talk about that as well.
Well, we're going to talk about a couple of those on the on later on in the show, and there's definitely a couple of really exciting developments that we've spoken about off camera again that I think is going to be of great interest to everybody, especially with everything that's going on at the moment. I know a little bit about Dezrez, given that you were ostensibly my largest competitor for years, but we're all fine now. One of the things that I really envied about you, not that I'd have said anything, was that Dezrez always had a really, really strong culture, a really the team, I think, being based in that down in Technion, down as you are down in Swansea there, clearly had a real buzz about them. What makes Dezrez a great place to work?
Yeah, and I think it has grown up from the two guys starting the business 20 years ago, in 1999, so 21 years ago actually, the business was started, and the rumor is that Ian built Dezrez One, our first bit of software, in his pants in his bedroom, but Ian and Justin, they built the company up to what it is today. Really, they built it up and built that culture around it as they built the company. So And we really want to continue that tradition. We feel like creating a great place to work is a really good thing to do. We want people to feel fulfilled and happy in the roles that they have with us. You spend a lot of time at work, you might as well enjoy it. So we really, and we feel that people that feel valued and fulfilled will give good customer service to our clients. And I talk a lot about customer service. We've got great software. We're really looking to improve and always consolidate that and improve what it can do, and the capabilities around it. But we need to back that up with good customer service. And we haven't always got that right, I'll be honest. But we've recently surveyed all of our customers and said, what do you want from us from a customer service perspective?
Yeah.
And overwhelmingly, people said, we want to be able to phone you. But I think there's a mix. We've got a number of channels, so you can web chat with us, you can come on the phone, obviously with us, or you can use the My Dezrez portal. So there's a number of options to get in touch with us here at Dezrez. And we've got a fantastic team. Again, having a great culture means we can get the best talent, and we can do that globally now because we can all work from wherever we want to. We've got guys out in Spain, a really strong development team out there, better weather, so it's obviously a good place to work. Definitely better than Swansea anyway. So we've got a really strong culture, and we want to continue that, and that's good for clients as well.
Yeah, it hasn't it? I haven't seen a company yet where you've got a strong culture in the back that doesn't genuinely feed through to a better experience for the clients on the, isn't it?
Yeah. And we don't, it's not just something we've written on our website. It is absolutely something we live our values. At the end of every month, we have an employee of the month who is voted for by through the values themselves. So another employee or a colleague will vote for an employee of the month based on adhering to the values that we have. And so I've learned a lot of that through Peter Knight as well. He's really good, been a really good mentor from that point of view. So
unfortunately, that man's number one most influential person in the industry. Yeah, I don't want to hear too much positivity about him because I'm hot on his tails. Rich, I mean, we've known each other, and funny enough, we both sit on the, if you like, the partnership group that Peter does, and so we've had the opportunity to really, I've had the opportunity to learn about your great business, and you've had the opportunity to listen to me, the various restaurants I've eaten around the country whilst I've not had much on. You mentioned there, you haven't always been perfect, and you've learned from that, and I think that the kind of the elephant in the room has been that Resi came out to great fanfare, didn't it? And I mean, I always operate on a position of absolute paranoia whenever we see new providers. But there was a number of things there you clearly thought very cleverly about where you were going to be targeting, the market leaders and everything else, and that crucial one about your open API as it was back then. And we're going to get back onto that, but I think it's fair to say it didn't go as smoothly as you wanted it to, did it? And in terms of, was that just a natural result of the eagerness to get a product out alive, and maybe you jumped the gun too much there, or were there other reasons you think in terms of why that didn't go down well at first when it first came out?
I think there's always the thing when you're a software provider, you want to share the love. You love the product that you've created, and you want to get it out there with your clients so they can get the benefit of it. And the API, the benefit of the software we built is the platform. It is it's really innovative. We took the decision in 2013 to rebuild our platform completely. We didn't just reskin Dezrez 1 because we saw that the technology was moving on. Things were moving to open APIs, cloud-based mobile software, and so we wanted to make sure that we could make the most of that, and we couldn't build that on the top of the old technology. So we took a decision to start again at great expense to us. We've done a lot of that just with our own money, and so it's. It was something we wanted to get it out there, and I think we've learned a lot from that. Particularly now, I really, we're coming on today talking about premium, and premium is available right now. It's being used by clients. We're not talking about this being available in 6 months. It's available now. It's being used, and that's kind of the difference. I think that's the learning that we've make sure it's literally a kind of minimum viable product stage, and then get it out. And I think, look,
let's be honest here, there isn't an established business in this industry that hasn't suffered from a bit of that at some stage. And it might happen for a variety of reasons. It might be over enthusiasm. It might be lack of, understanding the complexity and the different options that come. And then there's the unforeseen elements there. But I think, that what I like is that you see plenty of these businesses that actually make, have a bump in the road like that, and actually, they never recover from it. They disappear off or anything else. And what you've just kept your head down, haven't you? You've kept working on this, and again, we'll come on to the API because that's a whole really interesting section later. And even though that was what was perceived as a massive USP, you haven't stood still, with your laurels there and just said, okay, that's all you've got. You actually looked at how that was being used by your client base and then moved on by that. But we'll come back to that again in terms of what those lessons that you've learned and everything else there. So how are you focused on actually delivering excellent customer service now? Do you think it's something different that sets you apart from the competitors? I mean, famously, you just mentioned there, we listen to our clients in terms of wanting, a phone call. That's at a time when a number of providers are going exactly the other way to, it's got to be said, huge frustrations from their client base.
Yeah. And I think there's always this challenge, isn't there? Because you want to be able to provide great service. You want people to be available on the phones all the time, but it's expensive to have a huge team on the phones all the time. So you need to be able to offer different channels, and some agents are really happy to use a completely different channel, like web chat or coming directly through to us via the portal. But we do want to listen to our clients. We want to hear what they say and say, look, they didn't like the way we were providing our service. We've made changes. We brought in a customer service manager now, so they're going to just be focused on making sure we deliver good customer service all the time. But we also need to have a solid platform, a solid system, and we've kind of split the business up in terms of how the development team work. We've got a team that work solely on the infrastructure side of things, that just spend all their time looking at any little issues come up, we're solving them really quickly. We've got our features team that are still building all the fantastic cool stuff that we want to build and we want to get out. We've got a team that are building and doing all of our integration work and building all the Zapier stuff and all of that. So I think we've structured the company in a really strong way now, so that we can be reactive to customers wanting changes to the system. And when they get in touch with us, we push that through the process so that things get fixed and when they need to be. And we're honest about where we are as a company. If we do have an issue, we have our status page where we put that up and we say, we've got an issue at the moment, guys, we're working on it. Because obviously when we see those issues, it's the things that we want to, we don't want that to happen. We want to get it sorted as quickly as we can. But we need our customers to know how we're fixing it and how quickly it's going to be back online. And again, that's been feedback from clients around that. So
I suppose that's actually, the biggest CRM in the world. Salesforce will always, issue those same updates, won't they? I mean, I've got Virgin Media here, and if first thing I check is if it goes down, is just to see if there's anything obviously in the area and everything else. So it's perfectly acceptable, isn't it, to have that kind of approach there. Okay, that makes sense. And so what really do you think that then splitting of the dev, just in terms of that actual benefit, which is what the angle I always try to come back to for obviously the clients, is, if I'm guessing rightly, you do that because it allows them to specialize, but secondly as well, it doesn't mean then that all dev gets mixed up together, so that if you're doing one exciting bit of development, it stops something else working as well, doesn't it? You can actually move those ahead much quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. There's sort of different ways in which you can develop, I suppose, different parts of the system. And our core system, obviously, we want to make sure that what we do in that is all solid and it follows all the coding standards that we've built up over the years. And obviously, that element continues in a very, very structured way. But things that we can build on our API or integrations where we're working with other suppliers and integrating that work in can be done slightly separately. It's still using the same technology, but we can then, the benefit obviously to our own clients is that we've got more integrations already built in, so that if you're using View My Chain or GoTo Surveys or anything like that, or any of the GoTo products, you're getting referrals and things directly into our system. So there's a big benefit there, obviously, to clients, and they can be absolutely sure that we're also working on the infrastructure all the time. We've got a team just doing that, and that sort of stuff. When you've got a big CRM like we have in our competitors, you've got to continue to look at that all the time. It's really important.
It's amazing when we sold the company, what was it, 2-3 years back? One of the things that, I mean, you mentioned ERP there, and I'm sure that doesn't mean much to many people, but they started, some of the people we were talking to started challenging us whether we actually were a CRM, or in my old cute days when we first started estate agency software, quick upload to Rightmove, print off a letter, and that was how we sold the software. But they started challenging us, actually, are we an ERP platform there? And there was degrees of that really it starts to resonate, doesn't it? Because these systems these days do so much, and indeed have to do so much, that actually the level of demands that are out there are exponentially more than they've ever been before. I mean, we've seen the guys at Spectre, I'm sure you'll have seen, obviously on the MI side, they've launched their own one there, and they spent 3 years in development. I can't even begin to think of why I would start doing that now, knowing how hard it must be to get up to just the entry point into the industry these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you make the decision to go for a different technology, you're going to take the hit on the features, because that was always the thing against your ex-company was, you guys had a really solid piece of software that had all the features in, and we were building something which didn't have all the features, and we're getting, even now we're 7 years in now, and we're very, very close. Just a couple of things that we need to finish off to get to the point where we've got all the features we need. But our software is a huge piece of kit that does everything that an estate agent needs. So it's but they keep growing, don't they? And I think with an ERP, that's like, or your HR system, and all those things as well. But with Resi is you can actually connect that in. If you had an HR system, you could use our API and connect that information into Resi. If you had a accounts payable system, you could do the same. So that the API opens up all that functionality, and Resi sort of can sit at the heart of your business with all these other bits of software sat around it. So it gives a lot of power to the end user to be able to see all their data in one place.
Yeah, and the challenge is stopping, if you are talking about these big systems these days, it's to, when you're trying to do more and more, it's to stop them getting bloated, isn't it? To stop them being slow and all the other issues that can come. Because if you try to be the jack of all trades in any form of life, often you can actually, fail to specialize, can't you? So, or to work in any of them. So I think your key point there about is, integration has to be absolutely at the heart, because it's important to be able to integrate nimbly and agilely with whatever the best in breed, best in class module, app, whatever else is out there in the marketplace. We had, for example, our friend Christian Byfield on from the Depository earlier this morning on. He was talking about what's really interesting is you're seeing the ability now for agents even to become ostensibly their own prop tech providers. And with companies like yours obviously opening up to this degree, you're essentially liberating those guys to be able to connect the dot, to join the dots, isn't it, in terms of the business, what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't need a developer anymore. This no-code revolution we talked about earlier, there's all this happening now in the industry and in software where you don't need to be a developer to create an application or whatever it might be. You can use other bits of software that are the coding is already done in the background, and you need a bit of understanding of tech, but you don't need to be a developer anymore. And that's why we went down the route with Zapier, because we wanted to put that power in the hands of anyone who isn't techie. Anyone can just pick up and create a Zap through Zapier and create a really a functional workflow that improves your customer service, improves your efficiency.
Cool. We've got a few shout outs here. We've got Richard just commenting on the exceptional merch. I should point out, by the way, if you're gradually heating up and you're going to pass out, you can take it off at any time.
I'm going to have to leave it on now because my hair is going to be a real mess.
We've got Melbourne's finest over here now that he's finally been allowed out of lockdown. Yeah, about time you cleaned up your act, Whaley, looking good. I hope he's talking to something sensible, but thank you, Hutch. That's lovely to hear. Resi is evolving into an excellent CRM for their Facebook user, not logged in theirs. James White, he makes the point, estate agents are in a people business and enjoy being dealt with as people, and chatbots don't deliver that. I think that's very true, James. I think that there is a nuance to that, isn't there? Myself, I don't mind chatbots. Absolutely. In terms of actually, my first preference would be to use a chatbot because I can do other things. The key thing is, though, that shouldn't be the only way of doing it, is it? That's what frustrates people. Is get the information you need from the chatbot, then crucially, okay, I've done my research, if you will. But if it's a support that I need escalating, then I want to talk to them. Then I don't want to go the old press 1 for sales. Listen to pretty much A through Z of all the other options, and then finally get through to support. That's not delivering on that customer service promise that every single company does or makes.
I think there's a place for it, isn't there, with chat, not necessarily a bot, but if you're on the phone and you want to actually get hold of our support, you can do that. We don't actually have bots at the moment, maybe something we do in the future, but right now it's just actually a support person that comes on and answers your questions, so and talks to you directly. But it's just another channel, isn't it? Another option.
Good stuff. And always nice to be told I'm right. I mean, not that I'm a narcissist, but that's it. Fantastic. And you got a couple here. Kaylee saying, "Go Rich." And the roadmap is our Bible. I like that as a promise there. Cool. Okay, Rich. We've already touched on a few of these, but what do you think makes yourself different to the other software providers that are out there at the moment? Because in my day, it used to be you'd go into a pitch. You guys would obviously, you'd be there more often than not. But it was genuinely, it would be like get your magic 8 ball as to see who was going to turn up. That to a large degree, because of acquisitions, various other reasons, the choice has gone to a large degree out of the industry. And I'm just wondering now, does that mean they've all homogenized down to nothing, or do you still feel there's enough difference between them? And if so, what's yours?
No, I think there is still a lot of difference between us. And I think as we're going back to that point earlier, we took a decision that we needed to create something different. We created Resi on a completely new platform because it was different to what anyone else was doing at the time. I think our industry is maybe a little bit behind others from a tech point of view, but the API stuff and all that was happening in other industries, and we just took that from those industries and realized that was a way that we could differentiate ourselves. But it's not just that. I mean, the integration side of things, connecting the property world is what we're doing. We're connecting the property world. Need my own merch, you see.
I wonder what you were showing me then for a minute, Rich. But you kept going, so thank you for
that. So our mission is to connect the property world, and having this open API gives us that ability to do that. And a couple of years ago, we started our Evolution event, which our partners were kind enough to come along with us on that journey. So we had Money Penny Keys app, a load of others, Starbury, all the guys. I mean, thank you to you guys for supporting us through all that. But it was a great way of us showing agents how having your CRM connected to all these other bits of software gives you a lot more control, a lot more power, a lot more ability to provide better customer service, because you can sit in your CRM all day and get all that data in the right place and not have to keep going out to multiple bits of software. And our partners were on the same page as that as well. They wanted their agents to be able to get the information in Resi and just go out to say to your marketing software just to set up the whole marketing system, but then get some of the data into Resi and manage it from there on a daily basis. The other thing as well, we've got something called Resi Anytime, which I know quite a few providers now have a vendor and applicant portal. I've got some slides on that later we'll have a look at, but so I can talk through that a bit more detail.
Cool. That's good. And of course, you just mentioned there you launched premium. What can agents expect to see, and what makes it an industry first?
So do you want to put up the first slide there, number 3? I think we're going to.
Probably when my technical skills collapse, but let's see how we can do it. Okay.
All right. So Zapier, I like to think of it kind of as the the App Store or Google Store, where you've got all applications, hundreds of applications on there. And Zapier is a thing where all these applications have connected up to. So we don't have to do the work to connect them. They're already connected up to Zapier. All we needed to do was connect to Zapier. So that's what we've done. So you can go on Zapier and you can see a little Resi logo in it, and then we can connect all the Resi triggers and endpoints up to anything in any of these apps. You can see there it says search 750 plus apps. So, and within each app, you can do multiple triggers and multiple things. So it gives a huge amount of flexibility to an agent when you connect up to Zapier. So for example, if you go on to the next slide, actually, Si, this is how Zapier explain it.
First thing I was going to just comment, or just jump on that though as well, is, you know, just looking at that snapshot there, these are not like just little parochial, and I don't mean that in the wrong way, but these aren't parochial estate agency suppliers. These are absolute leviathans, your Trellos, your Facebooks, your Dropboxes. You know, the reason why I got so excited about this, and as I understand it, Zapier is what they would call middleware, isn't it? Is essentially where just does what it says on the tin. It sits between two different systems. It handles the mapping, which is the really complex part of that, and enables that integration to a large degree. It enables you to almost like forget the heavy lifting, doesn't it, in terms of integration, and puts it back, that, you know, puts it back in a really easy fashion back to people, as you said, so they don't even have to be techies anymore. I think, I mean, I haven't used Zapier myself, I'll be very honest, but I have used tools like If This Then That, which have a similar methodology, don't they, and ethos, in that you can see the icons of the applications that you want to use, and where you put them essentially in the flow chart there defines what's going to happen then from the system from that point on.
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of building like it's a workflow engine, essentially. When something happens somewhere, do something else. And this is how, what you've put on the screen there now, this is how Zapier explain it. So a trigger is when someone registers for my event. The action is follow up in a week with next steps. So it might be when someone registers for my event, send them an email to say, welcome to the event, you know, we're looking forward to seeing you. And you can also then send them, you can delay that, and you can send other things. So you can do lots of things with those triggers. So if you go on to the next one, actually, Si. So I'll give you an example of something in the property industry which is a bit more kind of relevant to us. So in Resi, there's a number of triggers because we built it on an API. There's lots of event endpoints which happen. So when anything happens in Resi, we can trigger something in another system. Okay. So a trigger might be a new instruction is created. So there's a button in Resi you can click, and that happens essentially. And at that point, then something can happen in the background to send something to Zapier. So that action might be get all the property information. So again, through the API, when you get the information back from the API, there's a lot of data in there. There'll be like the description, the main photos, the secondary, third photos. All of that will be in there. The name of the property, the vendor, everything comes back from Resi. You can then use that information to create your Facebook post. So you say, okay, let's use the main description, the main photo plus 2 other images, and that would then automatically send that to Facebook when you do that first action, which is clicking the instructions created. So, but it wouldn't just do that. It would also then do your Instagram post. It would also do your Twitter post. And also at the same time, you could do something called Twilio. You're talking about some of those apps are not just the small apps out there. Well, there are some very small software providers on there as well. There's one called Twilio, and they handle all of the notification system for people like Amazon. So they're a massive company. So you can get the power of that. So what they do is they send SMSs and emails, and so you could have all those things go up to your social media platform, and everyone would be consistent. So you're creating great customer service there. Whichever new property you take on, that can then be sent up to your social media platforms in the same way every time. But you could also then at the same time send a text message to the vendor to say your property is now live on all these social media channels. Share it with your friends or whatever it might be, and you could even then go another step and have instruction sent to Google Sheets. So from a reporting point of view, every time something goes on instructed, you can go to a reporting engine. So sorry, I've got quite a long-winded way of describing it.
Needed explaining that, and then I think the critical thing that I'm taking from this though is, again, if you, one of the things that one of our biggest competitors perversely in my previous life was actually people, normally corporate agents, that had felt, look, we don't want to be the same, and we feel like if we have the same CRM system as the guy down the street, where's our point of difference? How do we stay apart? Well, actually, what you're showing me, and actually, we were, EA Masters, Seth Godin was there again. Who wrote The Purple Cow, all about that need, that requirement to be different, to stand out there. But what you're telling me is not just in terms of from a marketing perspective, but actually how your agency works as well can be largely determined by yourself now that you've got this premium ability to customize that. Is that right?
Absolutely. We've built a load of Zaps that you can use. We've built about 30 of them. We ran a competition internally, so even customer facing staff and developers and all got involved in creating these apps. So we're all super excited about it in Dezrez. But as I said, you don't need to be a developer, so you can just get onto Zapier and you can start going crazy with all these different integrations, you can really give yourself a point of difference from a customer service point of view, and you don't have to share that with us or your competitors, so you can create that difference. Absolutely.
So if I understand it right as well, because let's when we go back to it, where I mentioned when you first launched a great fanfare about the API, which I think it's fair to say, my old company at the time didn't have a solution for there. One of the things though that I liked about it was that you did need to be technical to make that API solution work to its fullest, didn't you? And let's be honest, that's, whilst it's still a very important demographic, because those are the ones that need to have that flexibility, that customization to it, it didn't meet very easily, did it, the whole part of the marketplace's requirements. And what I like is you've actually evolved that. So just talk to me about how that Zapier integration came about, and was it as a development on the back of that original API?
Yeah, I think we spoke to agents a lot about what they wanted from software, and they mentioned that the point you just came up with is they want to have a point of difference from others, but they also want to automate things as much as possible. We've had a couple of goes at workflow engines. Some have been more successful than others, but Zapier have built a workflow engine. So and again, because we've got the API, we can connect up to it. So there's no point in us building our own workflow engine when Zapier's got one that works perfectly well. And in fact, obviously, it's the thing they do every day, and they've got hundreds of developers working on this thing. So they're gonna be always up there with the best technology, the best new applications come on the market. You're future-proofing your software here as well, because if a new application comes out and you want to buy it and connect to it, and it's on Zapier, you can do that straight away. So your CRM can stay the same, and all the bits around it can change, and you can continue to provide that service. You don't have to continually change your CRM to try and get the latest technology.
Yeah, so I was looking at again, in my paranoid sense, as we know, Salesforce, the world's largest CRM system, I kept thinking, oh God, what happens if they start paying attention to a state agency, or as they called it, real estate? Well, first of all, they tended to be, they were so big that they never really noticed us, certainly over here in the UK. But the thing that I could imagine would be so compelling for an agent would be that, look, they already have 2,000, 3,000 integrations natively in there. They can use Zapier as well. Like so often happens with evolution like this, what you've done though, as a notice, you've neutralized that, haven't you? There's no way that somebody come in and realistically say we've got more integrations than you, because Zapier are the people that do most of that there, especially when you still enable people to do custom integration with yourself as well. So that must feel that's about as future-proofed as he's got, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, we're talking about Zapier here, but there is all the other work we're doing with partners. We're working with Cojute. I don't know if you've heard of those guys. They've got a really interesting solution. They've got blockchain technology behind them, and they're looking at connecting up the way in which properties are sold and connect up all different bits of software around that. So that's a really interesting one. So Zapier obviously is key because it's giving that ability for anyone to build a Zap and use this advanced technology. But we are still working with people specifically in our industry, like Moneypenny, and those guys, and making sure that we're connected with them too. So we're getting better, and that's not going to stop just because we've got Zapier. We'll still continue to do that. And we've got a huge list of clients, of other suppliers we're working with to get through, and we've got.
Everyone will be beating a path to your door there as well. It's awfully unkind of me, this, Rich, but I've never worried about that. James just jumped up again with a question here, just asking, can Resi integrate with direct marketing solutions? Well, let me deal with that first part of it, because of course, yes, absolutely. You've just seen in terms of that. Are you building bespoke integration with those people in our industry, or what's your approach there?
We've already got an integration with a couple of them. Brief Your Market, we've already got that integration up and running. But there's MailChimp, there's all these other things like HubSpot and all those things on Zapier that you can use as well. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there to integrate with.
Probably, actually, I'm sorry, it sounds like I'm talking about Salesforce, but actually one thing you need to understand about Salesforce is, whilst it's fantastic, it is a real pain to get set up correctly and everything else. And I think it's fair to say, isn't it, that one of the reasons is direct marketing solutions, email solutions, EDMs as they're called, that's probably one of the main reasons that they were on that Zapier store, wasn't it? Because Salesforce natively doesn't handle email particularly well at all. In fact, it's a weakness. What he goes on to say, though, he says, I want to be able to press a button and target houses automatically in the neighbourhood when my staff mark a property sale agreed or when we list a new property. Now, my understanding is that if you've got that integration through to Brief Your Market, that's a core bit of functionality that Brief Your Market have already, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to read through that. Yeah, I think the thing to do there, James, is get in touch with us. I'm sure one of the guys who knows Zapier a lot better than I do, and all the integration work we've got going on, absolutely, I'm sure we can come up with a solution. And I think the fun thing about Zapier is we get asked these really obscure things by agents and said, oh, can I solve this problem using Zapier? And we're like, well, yeah, let's try. And so we're at the moment, because we're at quite an early stage in this, although obviously we've got it out there with clients and clients are using it and loving it. There's quite a good opportunity for us because we're excited about it as well. Ross and the team, they're all loving chatting to clients about it and working out how we can solve problems. We like solving those sorts of things. So it's absolutely come and have a chat with us. We'd be happy to
reach out to them direct there, James, or my details, drop me a line and I'll happily forward on those. I think we're actually planning, from what I understand, we're going to have a bit of a kind of panel round table with Ross, obviously, who's overseeing this as well, and talk about what's possible in terms of those Zapier things. So I'm looking forward to that. Look forward to all the batshit mental stuff I'm going to be. Can I order a Deliveroo based on when we've sold a property?
Do you know what? We had the competition internally, and that was one I was looking for. They're not on there yet. I think we need a campaign to get Deliveroo on there, or something like that.
Well, if you can come up with what do they call it? If they can come up with a Zap that tells me whether Uber Eats, Just Eat, or Deliveroo are going to win first in terms of delivering, you've got my vote. Okay. So let's have a look here. So we've spoke about whether the Zapier integration is going to come from and everything else here. What else is going to be the benefit of premium then, do you believe, to an estate agent, the estate agent of 2021?
Yeah, so there's a number of other things we're giving away with our premium offering. So it's not just Zapier. There is also something called Resi Meet, which is it's like a Zoom integration basically, but we've actually built a conferencing solution into our software. So that the beauty of that is, if you want to set up an appointment, whether it's a valuation of viewing, you can do that directly in the software, get all the information about the vendor, the applicant, and then you can schedule a conference call with them directly, and that information gets sent out to them. At the time of the meeting, they just click on the link and you don't even have to move away from your desktop. You can just sit there and have the virtual viewing or whatever it might be with them, or the meeting. So you can do that. You can use that with your team.
I mean, was that solely, did that solely come around because of lockdown, or was that kind of that's really good innovation, that.
Absolutely. And we initially started out with a Zoom integration, but we found it wasn't as good as this option. You know, we could, because again, the way we, you know, the team I was talking about, they're doing all the integration side of things, had this idea, and they said, oh, let's try using this capability, and that's what we did. They ran with it and created something pretty quickly that we've now built into the software. So it's a really good thing. Obviously now as we're in lockdown, and if you want to get in touch with your team, you know, if you want to have a Monday morning meeting and everyone's at home, you can set that meeting up. Just click on all the negotiators that you want to get in the meeting, or your valuers, and set that meeting up. And so it just kind of
really powerful, really good.
It's a really cool bit of tech there.
Osmond Burrows just jumps in with Resi Meat, love it. So there you go. That's you've had informal endorsements. That's great.
Excellent. And just the other thing as well is custom fields and custom forms. So
okay.
Again,
So if I'm understanding, because I hit the problem is you put out something like that and it's that expectation gap. You hear custom fields, you hear custom forms, and I'm guessing that does what it says on the tin, allows the agent to be able to put in their own unique fields into the application itself. What's the scope? What's the limitation around that? And how are some of those clients, what are they doing with it at the moment?
So it's pretty new out there at the moment, but it's the ability. I think. Do you mind putting up another slide, Si? Sorry. If you slide 9, just because there's a little image there of what it looks like. So essentially, what you can create is an additional tab there, where you can have a load of information, and that is all your custom information in there. So if you didn't like the way that we registered a client, for example, you could create your own form, because I know, you know, we've had this conversation with agents where, you know, our registration form is just a registration form. It's pretty formulaic. It's your name, it's your property information, all that kind of stuff. But if you wanted to add additional things in, have a bit more of a conversation with an end client, you could build your form in that way. So essentially that's what it is.
I love that. I mean, that's something that Julian O'Dell, the famous sartorially challenged, though he is, industry trainer, we used to have conversations. Indeed, me and my old sales manager Peter Bennett used to, and you could actually. This is, by the way, this is the shittest superhero skill ever. But when you phoned an agent, you could actually tell which system they were using by the way that they actually registered and walked you through. You know, that very formulaic. What's your name? What's your postcode? And of course, there's no immediate connection there or anything else like that. And Julian O'Dell kept ramming home the point that there should be a natural conversation before you get to the end in terms of trapping the raw data. And I can't tell you how many times over the years I've been challenged on that. And so just that ability there to be able to create that and create again, if this is all about standing out from your competitors, that allows you to do it instantly, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, you can add in all sorts of things in there. So again, you can go wild with what you want to put in custom forms and custom fields.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so great. Okay, so given the current COVID circumstances and everything else there, what feature do you think agents going to benefit from? I mean, there can't be much to beat that meat. I mean, that's an absolute feature for the moment, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really going to help agents. But I think the other thing is obviously Zapier. We won't go over that again. We talked about that a lot. But the Resi Anytime element as well, which is our 24/7 online portal for vendors, applicants, landlords, and tenants. If you click on the next slide, you'll see a couple of screenshots on it, because obviously this is for your end clients, and it needs to look nice. All the branding can be set up to what your agency's branding there. It's completely connected to Resi. Yeah. So the email address that the vendor applicant registers with in Resi is the same information they use to actually log onto their portal. So when they come in, they get that splash screen there, and you can change whatever you want on the splash screen. If you go on to the next slide, please. And this is the dashboard you get. And I think, during these times when everyone's locked down, people are going to be spending more time at home on their iPads, whatever. So if they can get at the information they need around their property sale or purchase, it's just another enhancement to your service you provide. And going back to the thing I was saying at the start, IT should be an enabler. It shouldn't be something you see as it replaces your service, because it doesn't. You've got to keep the customer service element going, but this should enhance that service. So end customers should come to you because you've got a great portal, and that you back that up with really good service. So back to this. I mean, this just shows the properties that you're selling or letting at the moment. You can book a valuation direct there if you need to. There's saved properties. It does kind of, I guess, the standard stuff, but all the documents that have sent to the client from Resi also appear in the My Documents area, so you wouldn't have to keep looking through all your emails to find all the documents. Just go in there and you can see a really quick list on there. The contact.
So evolution as to, we used to call them trackers. I think Dupix had property file and everything else there. And this is really just the next of evolution of those, is it? That you're, that whole 24/7, 365. Look, the agents obviously, and I think, they're not open 24/7, are they? The ability to log in here, though, gives you that ability.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go on to the next slide, I think there's one which is, so if you're purchasing a property, and there's a property there, and you can click on progress of your sale, of your purchase, and click on the next one, please.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. So I think this is one of the key areas, isn't it? When you're actually got a property that's progressing through sales progression, you want the end user to be updated with all of the milestones changing, and this is all done automatically. So you change a milestone in Resi, or your solicitor, tells you something to change. You change that would then automatically change on Resi anytime. And this isn't a great example, but the progress of your sale, obviously, as it gets to 100%, then you're on your way to completion. So
I think, Rich, that's how most people are feeling the processes at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's good. And I mean, I think one thing we could never get our heads around was literally the amount of time. I mean, you've got that whole, if you like, the whole EastEnders kind of audience where you've got home, from work, talking about, you're an estate agency client now, whether that's a vendor or an applicant or whatever else. The last thing you want to do is just pick up the phone straight away and get on the phone to an agent there. So you have your dinner, you sit back on the sofa, you get your iPad out. That's when you start seeing it. And that audience, that spike between 7 and 9 o'clock, that have people accessing tools like this. But it's not just that. I mean, genuinely, it's quite scary, the amount of volume that you actually have, even into the early hours and things like that. And I can't believe there's actually just that many people on night shift. But anyway, maybe it just shows that many people aren't sleeping at night. But it's a really key feature, that I think, in terms of delivering again on your customer service ethos.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely right. And that time in the evening when people are just sat down, why not capture that time, get them to log back in, and as I said, it's an enhancement to your service, because they might give you a call the next day, but at least they're probably a bit more informed at that point.
You said at the beginning as well, you were talking about, obviously, we probably have been a little bit behind other industries, and things like, obviously, Zapier kind of neutralizes that overnight. Obviously, we've had things like online banking and dashboards in other industries now as well. And so, again, ticking the box in terms of just making sure that you've got the flexibility you need to. And of course, who wouldn't be using a tool like this at the moment, giving, the lockdown scenario we're in?
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned the Evolution event that you've had, and you were kind enough to invite me to. It should be pointed out, once I wasn't a competitor. I tried to get in with a number of different disguises, but my pear-shaped body gave me away. Are you planning to launch anything similar next year, or were you constrained by what we're allowed to do?
No, well, we absolutely want to run another event. Again, I think we all really enjoy doing it. We get great feedback from clients around it, and it was always something that I wanted to do. I wanted to have are seen as a thought leader in the technology space. And I always say to guys, we should have an opinion on the latest bit of technology that's coming out, and we should be sharing that with agents. What a driverless car is going to do for estate agents. You might be able to order one of them through Zapier in the future. Who knows? So we love doing that. It's all about sharing the latest tech that's coming out in the industry. But we're looking at doing one virtually, but we're going to try and do it a bit differently. It's not just going to be a turn up and listen to people speaking. There's going to be some other bits and pieces happening, and it's going to have a bit of a different feel about it. But I don't want to share too much more on that at the moment, but it'll be really exciting, and I think it'll be great.
Well, share that with us, and we'll obviously advertise them out here as well. And if you can spare a little invite for a little old prop tech legend, then that'll be much appreciated as well.
All welcome, Simon. All welcome, definitely.
Good stuff. Okay, so let me just recap in terms of these takeaways then. So I think critically as well, let's be honest, I mean, I'm kind of to blame for helping create part of this, but one of the key elements is of course that you are independently owned as well, isn't it? Now, I don't think being independently owned by itself, if there's a massive degree of difference in the quality of a product, let's be honest, people aren't going to care whether it's owned in America, if it's owned in Swahili or whatever else there is there. But I do think that actually it can't be overstated that there is a level of confidence that comes that knowing that, as you mentioned there, the guys, Justin and Ian, have been around now for nigh on 2 decades here. An absolute sort of, it gives a level of stability, doesn't it? I think more than anything there. What do you think that the people care about that when you're talking to them? I certainly get that impression from people that they want to deal with companies, if they can, that they can, also sort of know and touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're strongly independent. We're proud of that fact. We've done so much with what we've got as a company. As I said, we've got a great team now here at Dezrez. We've got people that have been with us for 16 years, people that just joined us in the last couple of years, and a good mix of people. And I think being independent gives us that ability to continue in the direction we want to go in. We feel like we're just getting started. We've been around 20 years, but we're just getting started on this stuff. The Zapier things, all that. The money that we've put into building Resi is and all of that, and the time and the effort is now just coming to the point where we can really push this forward and really help our clients. Yeah,
cool. And as you said, though, so second takeaway in terms of customer service, every element of it, as I said before, I've been lucky enough to keep up with you at these partnership meetings. And when you've gone through that all the different ways from net promoter score to gauging internal satisfaction levels, that's really core now, isn't it? It helps drive what you do within the business as well, as much as anything.
Absolutely, and we're on Trustpilot as well now. So we've only just recently gone on there from a customer service point of view, but it's back to that honesty thing. We want to make sure that we're honest about the service we're providing, and we'll be judged by our customers on that one.
Never mind Trustpilot. Never heard of them, but Kerfuffle. Now that's that. You're getting named clients already talking on there, giving feedback about it, talking about the new Resi and everything else, and that's fantastic to see. And we encourage anyone, obviously, to jump up and give those reviews. And indeed, just when you're reviewing companies like Dezrez or anyone there, that's what we're about. Make sure you do your due diligence, go and have a look on there and check that it's the right package for you. And then I suppose finally, really, you made that point with your slogan on the shirt. It's Resi is the CRM that connects the property world, isn't it? So whether they've got that development resource and they can use your API in that respect, or if you have no development skills in the world, you have got the ability to link into the whole Zapier. You've mugged me off now, because I realised when you showed me that slide before that said Zapier rise with happier, that I've been obviously calling it wrong all these years. It's not the first time that people have laughed in my face, but at least now I know why they were doing it.
Well, I think it's American in it. It's the American term.
Yeah, that's it.
Who knows?
That key point about automation, integration, and being able to customize with those fields that you put before, that's the likes that we haven't seen in the industry before to date, is there?
Yeah, yeah. Again, having spent the time we have building the software, it's things that we've wanted to do for a while. We wanted to wait until we had those things available before we came out and started shouting about it. We haven't done a lot of marketing over the last couple of years, but we'll be doing that now. This is the sort of start of us, and so again, thank you, Simon, for having me on to this today, because it gives us a chance to start talking about this great stuff. And there's only more to come. Some really good stuff coming out in the next couple of quarters.
Well, Caesar has appeared here, by the way, Rich. So let me just. Justin, we need to tug our forelocks here and say hello. 2 decades. We aren't over the hill yet, or maybe some of us, Justin, started over the hill, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay, great. So again, encourage everyone to go to your page, landing page on there, and I think we've got to say as well, haven't we? You've got a deal for our wonderful Kerfuffle clients, if I'm right in thinking.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, half price setup if you take premium. So yeah,
well, you're only having premium now, aren't you? Come on, I mean, what's anyone messing around in? You've got to get on board with premium. I'm already trying to think of all the stuff I can do with that, even beyond the Just Eat and delivery things you've So fantastic, obviously, and what we say is, look, reach out to these guys direct, normal places there, go to their landing page, click on the I'm interested, and we'll happily forward those on as well there. What do you think? What else do you think? Do you think in terms of the market going forwards for the next few months, it's going to be quite vibrant in terms of people having a bit more time to choose solutions like CRM? Because the problem we've had, being honest, Rich, hasn't it, has been returning back from lockdown one, because we hit the market like that. These big projects and CRM replacement is perceived as a big project. Are normally kicked into the long grass, aren't they? It almost needs a bit of a breather so that those people actually that do need to change software, and we spoke about it off camera, there's a number of packages that obviously essentially are being retired off in 2021. So there should be a lot of people starting to think about making the choice pretty soon, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. And I think, when times are a bit quieter, then there's maybe the opportunity to do that. But yeah, we appreciate agents have been absolutely run off their feet. All our clients have been. And I think, as you can see, with the technology we're building in just helps in those times when you're so busy that you can't try. You've got so much going on that having things happen automatically in the background can be a massive benefit to you. So yeah, I encourage anyone to come and have a chat to us if they've got time to. Absolutely, we'd love to talk to you.
They've got time to. They've got nothing on. And the Dezrez social media team, fantastic. They're interested in Resi. Click straight in, book a demo now. www.dezrez.co.uk/book-demo, and you can see what we've been talking about today. Just a couple of final housekeeping points. James White has made the point rather unfairly. Is that a running machine behind you? You'll notice it's off. And also, that's the reason why I'm not wasting away. So thank you for that, James. And then on a final note, and I've got to say thank you very much, Rich, and you have done well not passing out in there. I'm assuming that you're wearing that as much as anything, because I don't want to scare you, but there appears to be a huge COVID virus. Now, I like challenge art as much as the next man, but that's a bit too heavy for me. Rich, thank you very much. Really look forward to tell Ross I'm already thinking of evil mad shit, basically, to start looking at the Wales apps are going to be a thing of legend. So thank you very much. Look forward to catching up over the coming weeks and months.
Awesome. Thank you, Simon. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.